Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Highway Safety Improvement Program Cycle 12 Call for Projects. My name is Scott Jakovich. I'm with the California Local Technical Assistance Program. We appreciate you joining us this morning. Before we get started, a couple things on housekeeping. If you could keep your mics and webcam off, that will help the presenters to come across as clear as possible. The webinar is being recorded, so if you miss any part today, we're going to have it posted at our YouTube channel, which you'll see at the bottom here, youtube.com/@CalTap. Feel free to introduce yourself via chat. We're reserving chat for just comments and introductions. If you have any questions for the presenters, particularly as they're presenting, please use the Q&A field. That'll help us to be able to identify those. Take a moment and be explicit and detailed so that there's not a lot of interpretation. It'll help the questions and answer period to go more effectively. And where possible, we'll be dropping links into the chat field so that you can kind of see what's going on live where pointed out in the presentations. We're going to get started here in just a minute with hearing from FHWA, and then we'll move into local HSIP overview, followed by a Cycle 12 call for projects, and we'll end around 10:50 as our goal with closing comments. There'll be an opportunity for verbal Q&A at each point. So again, put all your questions in the Q&A box if you would. This morning, our presenters are Mario Batti, Safety Program Manager from Federal Highway California Division, Robert Peterson, Office Chief, Office of Federal Programs from Caltrans Division of Local Assistance, and Richard Key, HSIP Manager, Office of Federal Programs, Caltrans Division of Local Assistance. We're going to get started with Mario. Mario, if you're ready, please take us away.
Yes, thank you, Scott. I'll share my screen.
Thanks.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the HSIP Cycle 12 Call for Projects webinar. My name is Maria Bhatti. I'm the Safety Program Manager at the Federal Highway Administration, and I am out of the California Division Office. We work closely with Caltrans Local Safety Program in administering of the HSIP program. The HSIP funding does come from FHWA, but I do want to offer this disclaimer that it is administered by Caltrans. So whatever I say today in my presentation is the HSIP program that the Caltrans administers. California is one of the only few states that actually uses the HSIP funding and uses the set aside from the HSIP funding for projects on local roads. So you're very lucky, consider yourself very fortunate to be in the great state of California. And we really want to see you succeed as far as addressing safety on the local roadways. So I just wanted to show this slide, the number of fatalities and the fatality and the fatalities have jumped quite a lot overall in the nation.
Sorry, the connection is slow.
And so it is very critical to address some recent trends, the 2021 and 2022. The 2022 numbers have shown a recent decline in national fatalities. That there is that things are moving in the right direction, and we need to keep on doing what we are doing in addressing the roadway fatalities. This slide just shows the California fatalities. It's not looking too much different from where the national trends are. And again, the recent numbers are showing some promising downward trends. However, that doesn't mean that we need to stop, and it just means that what we are doing is working. Also in California, since more than 50% of fatalities are occurring on local roadways, that's why it is very critical for you all as local agencies to strategize, look at the projects through a data-driven approach, and address the safety problem on your roadways as well. And then HSIP funding that is available to the local agencies in California is a great opportunity for you to actually bring your projects to life through this funding. A little background on the HSIP program on the federal level. It has been there since the Appropriation Act of Safety Lieu, and it has been it has continued into the most recent IJA, or Bipartisan Infrastructure Law bill. However, there has been a huge increase in the funding, as you can see on this slide, to the Highway Safety Improvement Program. So, and California has also seen the increase. So all of this funding has actually trickled down to all the states, and California has also seen the increase to the HSIP funding. And that means there's more funding available for the local agencies as well under the HSIP program. So the purpose of the Highway Safety Improvement Program from our FHWA perspective is what it says on the slide. The purpose is to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on all public roads. And that's why it is great that in California, the local agencies can also use this funding to improve safety on the local roads as well. So again, whatever I cover in my presentation is superseded by what Richard will cover because HSIP program is federally funded, but is state administered. So we want to make sure that the projects or activities that you will complete through the HSIP dollars is strategized to provide the best safety improvement on your local roadways. And you can do that through data-driven approach where you actually review the roadway data, the number of vehicles, the AADTs, and the crashes on the roadway. And then you also, then you use this data to identify the best solution, a highway safety improvement project. And then the last bullet again says this program is federally funded, but state administered. So working with your local division of local assistance contacts, we highly encourage that you do that because they can be a great resource to you in helping you through your safety projects. The HSIP project eligibility, a few points I have on this slide. There is a strategic highway safety plan that's put together. It's an umbrella document. It's a plan that recognizes the roadway problems or challenges where the most safety improvement is needed. And it is great that if you can get involved, the SHSP team conducts meeting every month. And it's good to get involved in that. So I wanted to put a plug in for that, then that way you are more in tune with understanding, what is the bigger picture for our state. And then you can also kind of focus in on what's most needed in your areas, in your local agencies. So the project is, as I mentioned, is identified through data-driven approach. You're looking at the numbers, the fatalities and serious injuries on your roads, and then you're coming up with the best solution, the best project that you can use the HSIP funding on. It identifies a safety issue. Again, going back to if you look at the numbers, then you will know which locations, whether it's a spot improvement or a corridor that could use safety improvements throughout the roadway, then you can identify that through your data-driven approach. And again, going back to the fact that HSIP funding is available to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on all public roads. So hopefully, through this approach that I identified on the slide, you will identify, the areas that need it the most, and you can do your best to reduce fatalities and serious injuries on your local roadways. Additional changes or things that have been continued for HSIP under the bipartisan infrastructure law, more focus on vulnerable road user. This includes the non-motorized users of the roadway. And this involves actually funding set aside or funding actually obligation requirement for California, that there is a certain amount of funding that's used to address on projects that address the vulnerable road user safety problem. And also there has been a bigger plan under the SHSP, where a vulnerable road user safety assessment was completed for California to put the focus back on the non-motorized users of the road. The high-risk rural roads, to address the safety on the rural roadways. Again, California rural road fatalities numbers have been increasing. So, and a lot of rural roads are on local roadways. So this is, putting more emphasis on through funding set aside to address problems on high-risk rural roads. Under the changes to HSIP under the bipartisan infrastructure law, now the HSIP funding can be used on automated traffic enforcement systems, including red light cameras and speed cameras. And bipartisan infrastructure law continues the use of HSIP funding for projects to maintain minimum levels of reflectivity. I wanted to highlight here that US DOT has recognized the increasing trend in the fatalities on our national roadways, and has recognized the National Roadway Safety Strategy to address the problem. And so National Roadway Safety Strategy is based on principles that when it comes to roadway fatalities, 0 is the only acceptable number. It is aligned with the Vision Zero approach. And in California, in fact, there is a Vision Zero, the goal of 0 fatalities by 2050. So I wanted to just highlight that this is recognized on the national level at the US DOT level. And safe system approach is also recognized as one of the key principles that can be used in addressing the roadway fatalities. So I wanted to highlight the safe system approach, because when you are putting together the plans in your local agencies or the projects, to think of it, to keep the safe system approach in mind. The safe system approach is basically taking us away from the traditional approach of how we address safety on our roadways. And it considers that taking the blame away from humans, and one of the guiding principles of the safe system approach is it says that humans make mistakes, and that we recognize that the human bodies are vulnerable. So in the event of a crash, there is just so much energy that the human bodies can absorb before it turns into a fatality. So the image on this slide shows the safe system principles that are in the outside circle of the safe system wheel, that you could say. Again, so it says that humans make mistakes and humans are vulnerable. The other principles recognize that death and serious injury is unacceptable. That safety is proactive, so you don't have to wait for the fatalities or serious injuries to occur. You have to recognize the risks that are there and address safety before the fatalities start occurring in that location. That it recognizes redundancy is crucial. So the inside of the wheel has the elements of safe system approach. So all of us have to work together and provide redundancy in the system to make sure that when a crash occurs, that it doesn't result in a fatality. And that's where the responsibility is shared principle of the safe system approach comes from. So we, have great responsibility. The safe roads is more on the engineering side of things. For safe speed element of the safe system approach, we work with the lawmakers or the law enforcement. We work with automakers to make sure the vehicles are safe. We work with the medical examiner for the post-crash care, so the victim can receive the medical attention that's needed after a crash. And this through the education of the safe road users, we work with the human behavior side of things to make sure that the users are doing everything to stay safe when they are entering our roadway systems. How can the safe system be achieved? FHWA has recognized the proven safety countermeasures. There are actually 28 proven safety countermeasures that are available to you. The website is there on the slide, and these are actually been proven through research to reduce fatalities and serious injuries. As you can see, for roundabouts, when you visit the website and you click on any of the proven safety countermeasures, you will see the numbers that are shown on the right side of the screen. And this is highlighting roundabout as a proven safety countermeasure, and it reduces 82% of fatalities and injury crashes when compared to a two-way stop control. And when compared to a signalized intersection, roundabout reduces 78% of fatal and injury crashes. And I believe Robert will go over, there is a webinar coming up on that will talk about roundabouts that is going to be delivered through the Division of Local Assistance at Caltrans next week. So you will have the opportunity to get that link and register for that. I also wanted to highlight that that USDOT is actually making SS4A grant available, Safe Streets for All. And this is a direct recipient base. So you apply for this and receive this funding directly through USDOT. And I wanted to highlight there has been a number of awards in California, 110 planning and demonstration grants, and 14 implementation grants. Over $322 million have of grant of this grant has been made available in California through the awards. There is another deadline approaching in the round 2 of this grant, and that's coming up on August 29. So if you have missed it, you still have a chance to apply for the planning and demonstration grant. And I have the website on the slide available to find out more. And this slide has a couple of resources available through FHWA, and the links are there, so you can click the links that I shared already. I talked about safety system approach. You can go to this link and learn more. The proven safety countermeasure approach link is there as well. There is good resources through the local and rural safety program at FHWA. They have resources available of how you can apply the proven safety countermeasure and safe system approach on local roadways. I mentioned high-risk rural road is an area of concern for California. Highly encourage you to, if you're a rural agency located in the rural area, this is a very good resource for you. And one thing I wanted to mention was also the National Center for Rural Road Safety. This is a good resource because it provides actually training for you to train the safety engineers in your agencies of how to address safety. on the, again, it's for the rural road safety. So this is a very great resource. Okay, I think I've gone over a little bit of my time, but here's my information. If you want to get in touch with me, feel free to do so. And I think we can go to questions now.
That's great, Maria. Thanks. We do have a couple of questions. One was you had a slide on California fatalities. Do those road fatality totals include pedestrian deaths, do you know?
Yes. Yes, it includes pedestrian fatalities.
Okay,
All fatalities, basically. Yes.
related to traffic.
Related to, yeah, the road that are occurring on our roadways.
Right.
Yes.
Great, makes sense. Another question, can you mention each of the 6 high priorities identified in the California Strategic Highway Safety Plan?
Let Richard or Robert answer that, because the high priority area from FHWA, as I mentioned, was the vulnerable road user and high risk rural road for the HSIP program. However, there is a number of high priority areas for California that, you know, that Caltrans has more knowledge of.
Okay,
Yes,
sure.
I can try.
Go ahead,
This is
Richard.
Yeah, so in California's SHSP, we used to call it emphasis areas, and now it's high priority challenge areas. So they are lane departure, impaired driving, aggressive driving, speed management, pedestrians and bicyclists, and intersections. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. And by the way, as Richard pointed out, we're going to make sure that we submit or send out to everybody who's registered a formal Q&A that will have these answers and anything else that the presenters are able to answer for your Q&A session. So we encourage you to drop those questions into the Q&A chat box. That allows us to capture them and not only answer them live on air, but also follow up after the webinar with a formal Q&A handout that might be useful.
Yeah, that is correct. So we will put a link to the recorded webinar, and also we will compile a PDF file of questions and answers posted online at HSIP website.
Thanks, Richard. Mario, one last question, it looks like. Can one HSIP application cover numerous crash locations? For example, can one application propose the installation of small roundabouts at 12 intersections with a pattern of broadside crashes, which results in fatalities, severe injuries, and injuries?
Again, I think Richard will cover this in his part of presentation, but I believe the HSIP application does provide capability, Richard, to address, you know, number of locations in one application. Oh, Robert is on camera. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, we could touch on that in the application part, but yeah, the answer is yes. You can submit multiple locations under one application, or multiple locations under one application, and of course that's the systemic approach where a lot of local agencies take advantage of that. But we'll touch on that.
Great, thanks, Robert. Looks like we have one additional question, a little bit philosophical. Is 0 fatalities by 2050 a realistic and achievable goal?
So yeah, this is a goal. This is a vision. Going back to the idea of like when you think about roadway fatalities, 0 is the only acceptable number. If we think about it as, you know, just not, you know, just some statistics, California has over 4,000 fatalities occurring on our roadways, and nationwide, the numbers are extremely high, over 40,000. So if you think of it, there's a face behind every person that is dying on our roadways. Their families are getting affected by it. You know, so it's affecting real people and families. So when you think of it that way, it's, you know, 0 is the only acceptable number. Again, it's a vision. If we don't aim for the best, then we won't really get anywhere. recently, we have started seeing a little bit of decline in the fatalities. So it looks like that what we are doing is working and that we need to keep working towards it. And hopefully that we can get to that the goal of 0 at some point.
Great, thank you, Maria. That seems to be all the questions for now. Oh, wait, one just jumped in. Let's see, if we can take this time to answer one more. Are non-infrastructure projects or programs like Safe Routes to School, active mobility, community engagement, active transportation plan implementation, etc., eligible under HSIP Cycle 12 requirements?
We'll touch on that, Scott.
Perfect. I'll leave that question for your presentation, Robert. And with that, Maria, thanks so much for presenting with us. We're going to switch over to Robert Peterson from Caltrans. Robert, thanks.
All right, thank you, Scott. Yeah, Robert Peterson here. I'm the office chief over our Office of Federal Programs here in Local Assistance. You've probably seen me in other venues on maybe in the bridge area. So my office oversees the bridge program, AR program, emergency relief, the local HSIP, and then we also have the railroad highway crossing program in my office, and then all the discretionary funds that flow through my office in one form or fashion. So glad everybody has joined us today. So yeah, we're very excited to talk about Cycle 12. I think we've got some changes that you'll be excited to hear about that Richard will share. So I won't steal his thunder, but as I mentioned, as Maria mentioned about the upcoming webinar that I want to call the infomercial. The title of it is Affordable Roundabouts, Safer or Smaller, Slower, and Safer for All Travelers. So it's one of those areas where just hearing about what other states are doing, I feel like it's an underutilized countermeasure that I feel like has great potential here in California. So as Maria mentioned, we have VRU as an emphasis area, which is the vulnerable road users, and with H3R, of course, is tackling the rural major minor collector roadways. But the VRU in the intersections is an emphasis area, and we feel like this is something that we would like to highlight when it comes to affordability. As you know, roundabouts can be very, very expensive. Some have experienced spending $4 or $5 million. Our local HSIP is very competitive, and sometimes regular roundabouts, normal roundabouts are can be very challenged to be competitive in our program. So this is really an opportunity to emphasize compact and mini roundabouts. They're even coming out with modular roundabouts that you're going to be hearing about, really, where you can actually install at a location. Of course, obviously every location is not going to be applicable, but we feel like there's many locations that would have these smaller roundabouts would be considered, where these modulars can be installed within days at fraction of the cost. So you saw the link from Daniel. Please sign up for that. I think we're going to be hearing from the state of Washington. You're going to be hearing from the city of San Diego. You're going to be hearing from the vendor that actually supplies the modular and their experiences on installation and how easy those are. And then you're going to be hearing from one of our District 6 experts on roundabouts and what he has seen from his viewpoint. So please sign up for that. That's next Wednesday. It's a couple hours, and most importantly, we're not going to leave you without technical assistance. So FHWA Division Office and their Resource Center is committed to helping out all agencies when it comes to these smaller roundabouts and helping out with any Q&A or questions you might have on those. So anyhow, so that's my pitch for that. I'm just going to go jump into my overview of local HSIP cycle 12. So just as Maria mentioned about the purpose, I'll just quickly touch on that. Eligible applicants for cycle 12, the local HSIP funding level that we have currently for cycle 12, call for projects, project delivery status and requirements that we have for all of our cycles. As Maria shared, we have that same goal on the local side as well as on the state side to achieve significant reduction in fatalities and serious injuries on all public roadways. And there's your references if you're interested in reading more about the behind the scenes and the federal regulations. So next slide. So these are the eligible applicants. Any tribal government, counties, cities are eligible to apply. MPOs and RTPAs they can also apply, provided everyone has a master agreement with the state of California. If you don't have a master agreement, don't despair. You can either work with an eligible city or local agency that does have a master agreement to deliver your safety countermeasure. For the most part, cities and counties are the lion's share of the agencies that are, of course, applying for our local HSIP. Any questions on that, please send them our way and we can help you on those. So the other, talking about the funding split, we do share the HSIP from the HSIP apportionment with the state side, 50-50. So we get 50% of the apportionment each year. So our local HSIP shares about 120 million a year, and which is really great. And the other thing that has been very nice to have in our back pocket as far as making it attractive for agencies to apply is the state funding that we enjoy. Sometimes local agencies are a little bit scared when it comes to the process, the federal funding, and all maybe the strings that are attached to that and the reporting. And a lot of them will not go forward just because they feel like they don't have that capability. So we've removed that a couple of years ago through SB 137 with the funding exchange. So majority of our local HSIP will be funded with state, and of course with the local match. We still have the local match on that. The exception to that is larger VRU type projects. We will probably keep federalized just to help out with the VRU obligations that we have to utilize federal funds for, as well as the H3R. And the H3R is called high risk rural roads, and that's really for projects that are on rural major, minor collector, or rural local road. That's the classification, if you're wondering what H3R means. So any projects that are on that type of roadway, we will have to federalize because the HSIP apportionment has been carved out of our regular apportionment and putting in another fund code. And the only way we can utilize those funds is keeping the project federalized. So we can't use state funds for those. All right. So just kind of give you a picture of where we're at with our cycles. So we've started, of course, with cycle 1 way back in 2007 when local HSIP was first formed. And so now we're up to cycle 12 here in 2024. So we've been doing it every other year, call for projects. And so we've got many projects that we've already funded and many projects have been completed. And go ahead with the next slide. And you're going to see that we've got quite a few projects that we select. We're close to 1,000 projects. One of the things that you'll notice is our BCR cutoff has been increasing. And so I think you can take away with saying, well, you know, do I have a chance of even of selecting or even getting an application and getting it funded? The reason why you're seeing that the benefit costs go up is the local agencies have really embraced the systemic approach. And what that means is that you are looking at many locations and putting countermeasures, specific certain countermeasures at many locations and applying to that. And so what that happens is when you start looking at the low cost and applying it over many locations, you're going to get yourself a pretty high BC for those locations. So if you just look at one location or a hotspot, if we call it, most times you're not going to be as competitive. And so that really, we really encourage agencies to start, to look at the systemic approach to low cost countermeasures out there and apply those. And that's what you're seeing. Another reason is with the local road safety plans and the SART program, agencies are really looking at their local roadway network and seeing where their problems are and coming forward with some great projects. And we're seeing the quality of applications have increased, and we're seeing the number of agencies have applied. As you can see, they've increased every year. Richard's going to be sharing, let's go ahead with the next slide. Richard's going to be sharing that the amount of funding has increased this year, which is good news. And so hopefully we'll be able to accept many more projects this go around. I think last call was around 240 million. We're looking at around 300 million of funding available. So which is really going to be, and then we've increased with the set asides, and I think Richard will touch on that as well. With projects, with the announcement of as soon as you get let know that you are been successful, now comes the constraints, and that is we've got deliver. You got the funding, but now you need to deliver. So we've been one of the things that we do is we provide milestones for getting your PE to get your project started. And then also getting your project out into construction. So we give you 9 months before you get put on our delay list. And then there's also the 36 months to get it to construction when you get, when your project, when you get announced that you've been selected, you're given 3 years to deliver that project, or you're considered delay. There is a second time extension that you can ask for in order to apply up to 5 years. And then after that, you'll need to go to our local ACIP advisory committee if you're beyond the 5 years to get your approval to keep going with your delivery. So just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at with the projects. So we've got 976 projects total from cycle 8 through cycle 11. So just the percentages there, I won't touch on them. You can read those. So we do have some projects, of course, on the delay list that typically is never going to go away, but we would like to keep those as minimal as possible. One of the areas that we're looking at is the cycle 11 projects. We do have 32 projects that are that haven't started. And so if you're one of those agencies that haven't started your cycle 11, a lot of times agencies will use their own funds on those projects and not use ACIP funds. And so you might have started, but we don't know that. Sometimes you might check that box in your application and saying, yeah, we're going to use ACIP funds, but then later on say, no, I'm going to use those for ACIP. But we don't know that you've already started. And so please reach out to us if you find yourself on that list, but you've already started, let us know, and we can make that note that you've already started and you're going to be putting all your funds on the ACIP on the construction phase, and then you will be taken off that delay list. So appreciate your effort in doing that. But currently we have 72 projects. And as you know, if any project is on the delay list, that agency cannot apply for the next cycle call for projects until you've satisfied. And Richard will touch on some of that in his presentation on some of those constraints that we have. So that's all I got. Any questions that I have on the overview? If it's more technical in nature, Richard does a great job with answering those. But any questions for me before Richard dives into the meat of the presentation of cycle 12 and what we have to offer for everyone?
Thanks, Robert. We do have a number of questions. Richard, did you want to work through these with Robert, or do you want me to walk through these? How'd you like to do that?
I can walk through the questions. I have seen most of the questions are specific for like set asides, which we will answer later. So let me see if there's any questions we want to answer right now. So this one, do tribes have to have master agreements with Caltrans in order to receive these funds?
So I can answer that three ways, and we can touch on it. So yeah, this is one area that's been of a challenge. So the first one, of course, yes, if you have a master agreement or pursue one, that would be preferred. The other area you can also we could do a funds transfer through BIA, the Bureau of Indian Affairs. I think a lot of them go that direction, even though it can take quite a long time to go that direction. And so that's another option. The other option is to, as I mentioned, to join up with a city or county to administer your project. We are doing one actually with Humboldt County. We've got 3 or 4 tribes that have worked with Humboldt County and actually put an agreement with Humboldt County. So they have their own separate agreement. Then Humboldt County is actually going to deliver a safety project on behalf of their tribal roadways. So that one definitely is something that we support. There's no questions asked there. They can go forward and deliver that project for you. So that's the 3 options.
Good. Next question. Can congestion management agencies, not MPOs or RTPAs, apply on behalf of local agencies? Again,
yes, as long as you have a master agreement. If you have a master agreement and you are addressing safety on a local road network, the answer is yes. You can apply, provided that you've got the capability to deliver that project. You'll be the administering agency to apply to move forward with that project to deliver.
Right. I also, you need to talk to the local agencies so they know you're applying. Exactly. Yes. And if it's on a state highway, that's another thing that Richard will address. Not that we don't discourage it, that we don't allow it, but there's some strings to that if you're looking at a state highway or an intersection with the state highway. Next question, BCR cutoff is in reference to how BCR must be at least for that number. I can answer this one. So BCR cutoff is the number that if your BCR is above that number, your project will be funded. So that's the BCR cutoff. Last time it was 18. So only projects with BCR larger than or at least 18 will be funded. Yeah, I'm trying to see. Okay, maybe this question, is it required to complete HCIP projects 5 years after award? So I can answer this one as well. So Well, there's a delivery requirement, and also there are extensions you can request. Later on, under like what agencies can apply, there's one item that if you have two or more than two projects that are still not under construction, then we would like you to complete those projects first and not applying for new funding.
So to touch on that, as far as the timeline, that's really where we really encourage agencies to not look at projects that require right of way, maybe complications when it comes to environmental. And so, because anytime you get beyond the roadway prism, that's where we're seeing the delays really happen. And so we emphasize, look at your roadway prism, stay within your roadway prism, and looking at the low cost as your best alternative for so that you can deliver in a timely manner. Not saying that you can't buy right away, but a lot of times when it comes to environmental, that's where it can really stall in the delivery. And we've seen that projects that have taken a long time to deliver. And that's where we emphasize incremental approach first. And so we don't allow roadway widenings until you've done the incremental approach, the low cost first, before you move to a roadway widening, for example.
Next question, is there a link to the official delayed list? So under local HSIP website, we have one tab, which is, project delivery requirements and the status. We publish quarterly report on what projects are being delayed. So I can see most, if not all questions, remaining questions are about, specifics. I think we can go ahead and, go to next session and answer questions later on. Scott, would that work?
That sounds good. Robert, thanks so much. Richard, appreciate your help.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm Richard Key. I work in Office of Federal Programs, Local Assistance, and I am one of the two HSIP managers. So you might have seen emails from me sometimes, but I guess mostly your direct contact is your district local assistance engineer, DLAE office. So I will talk about specifics of cycle 12, call for projects, timeline, general information, who are eligible to apply. If you have, currently delayed a project, what should you do? And then in this cycle, we like last one, we have funding set aside and benefit cost ratio applications. So I will talk about that and provide some useful documents and websites. At the end, if we have time, I will go to the application form and HSIP analyzer to have some demonstration. All right, so hopefully you have seen this on our website. We announced the call for projects about 2 weeks ago, and application due date is September 9th, 2024, like midnight. So this time we will use Smartsheet to collect applications. And our timeline is once we have all the applications, we will review and then make sure all applications are good, and then have our recommended project list and give to upper management to be approved. So hopefully by the end of this year, we should be able to post the list of recommended, funded projects. So even though the deadline is September 9th, we really hope that at least some of you can submit your applications earlier. So that's good to us. So we can like even our workload, we can have more time to review applications. And it's also good to you because if we find anything missing or any calculation not right, we have time to get it back to you, which may not be very durable if we, have all applications after the deadline. In the meantime, when you submit an application, you can mark, is this to replace an application you have submitted earlier? So in that case, if you find something and it's still before the deadline, you can resubmit it basically. So that's good if you can submit it early. So funding level, like Robert said, we have approximately $300 million, and we will use both federal and state funds. So the reason we can use state funding, actually that was from cycle 11 2 years ago, because of the law SB 137, we can exchange federal funds for state funds. This SB 137 is not just for HSIP, it is also good for bridge projects. So I don't think they have started to take advantage of this, but that's one of the reasons we have both federal and state, because maximally we can only exchange $100 million. So we will still have federal funds as well. And there's also other reasons because of special rules. So one special rule is high risk rural roads special rule. So whenever, if over the last 2 years, the number of fatalities on rural roads increase, then we have to obligate about $17 million to local rural roads. So we have to use federal funds on that. Unfortunately, this has been triggered for the last 2 years already, and we expect this will still be triggered in California for a few more years at least. The other special rule is vulnerable road user, VRU special rule. So basically this rule says if in a state, non-motorized fatalities represent more than 15% of the total fatalities, then we have to obligate at least 15% of HCIP funds for VRU projects. So HRRR only local side can use the money because state side does not have any rural major collector, rural minor collector, and rural local roads. So we have to use all on local roads. VRU, the state side, the state HCIP can also use, so we will share this portion. So that's the other reason we have to use federal funds. And for the, so for the other projects, we tend to federalize if the project is very large. If it's small project, we will try to use state funds as much as possible. Okay, so for cycle 12, just like cycle 11, the reimbursement ratio is 90%, with only one exception for countermeasure SI03, which is signal timing adjustment, only 50%, because we consider this as a operational improvement as well. So application categories, the majority of the funding will be used for benefit cost ratio applications, BCR, and we also have some funding set asides which do not require BCR calculation. So like Robert covered already, cities, counties, tribes can apply, and RTPAs, MPOs can also apply on behalf of local agencies. So over here, I listed some requirements. So number one, each applicant needs to have completed a local roadway safety plan or equivalent. And this requirement is also from cycle 11 already. If the local roadway safety plan is older than 5 years, the plan needs to be updated or validated. So that's number one. Number two, if you already have existing HSIP projects, which are in the delayed list, so you need to resolve by the end of this federal fiscal year, which is September 30, 2024. So you may either submit the request to the DLAE office, or you need to send a extension request and get it reviewed and approved. Number three, if you have 2 or more active projects that are still not in construction after 5 years of the project's selection, then we want you to complete those projects first and not apply this time. Okay, so yeah, 3 conditions. 1, LRSP. 2, no red flag projects or to be resolved. And then number 3, no 2 or more than 2 projects that are not in construction after 5 years. Okay, so now we go to the 2 categories. So benefits cost ratio, we are going to have $252 million out of the 300 altogether. So BCR calculation is required. You will see that we have HSIP analyzer, which you can calculate the benefit cost ratio, and then you attach the HZIP analyzer to the application form. This time, the minimum BCR is 4, so you can submit. This is not the BCR cutoff. So BCR cutoff is like after we receive and review all applications, and we decide we have to have a cutoff so to fund the project. But this, if your BCR is lower than 4, then don't submit, because there's no chance it will be selected for funding. For BCR category, each agency may have up to $10 million. So if you have a lot of good applications and high BCRs, we don't want to have all the money for one local agency only. So $10 million per agency. But you can submit as many applications as you want, and then if it's more than $10 million or higher than the cutoff, then we will figure out a way. We will talk to you. Funding set asides. So it does not require a benefit cost ratio calculation, and it's for low cost safety improvements. We have 5 funding set asides totaling $48 million. And remember, for each set aside, you can only submit 1 application. So here, so we have guardrail upgrades set aside, pedestrian crossing enhancement set aside, and set aside for installing edge lines, set aside for bike safety improvements, and we have a special set aside for tribes. If we receive more applications more set aside applications, then we can fund, because there's no BCR associated with it. So what we will do, we will look at the history, the funding history. If your agency have not got any funding in the last 2 cycles, you will be a higher priority. And also for that set aside, for example, if you apply for guardrail upgrades, but you did not get any guardrail upgrades for the last 2 cycles, we will put you higher priority under this set aside. And then, if it's all a tie, then we will look at your fatal and severe injury crash numbers in the last 3 years. So you do not need to provide this number. We will look it up in the database. It's not for the locations you're applying for funding, but this is the number for your entire agency, just to order the applications. Okay, so guardrail upgrades, altogether, we will have $15 million, and the maximum per agency is, or per application is $1 million. So that's the same as cycle 11. And again, this is for upgrades of existing guardrails and any treatments, not for new guardrails. Bridge rails are not eligible under this set aside. You may apply, for under bridge program. The second one, which is very popular, pedestrian crossing enhancements. So we increase the total amount to $20 million, and we also increase the maximum per agency from 250,000 in cycle 11 to 350,000. We also brought the eligibility under this set aside. If you may recall that HARC or pedestrian signal was not eligible under this set aside, but this time it's eligible. Basically, pretty much all pedestrian and bicyclists countermeasures are eligible under this set aside. Installing edge lines. Last time we have not received a lot of applications under this set aside, but this time we have $3 million, and also the maximum per application or per agency is $350,000. So this is for installing edge lines along roadways. If you have if you need to install center lines, then it can be included as well, because sometimes not just edge lines. Bike safety improvements set aside. So altogether, $7 million, and also maximum per agency per application is $350,000. So this is for installing bike lanes or other like separated bike lanes. We also add, if you want to remove objects for multi-purpose, multi-use trails, or install wayfinding signs, you can also include those in this set aside. So tribes, we have $3 million set aside for tribes, and the maximum again is $350,000. So it has been increased as well. So applicants must be tribes which are federally recognized in California. The work can be anything like the previous 4 set asides, plus some other low-cost roadway safety improvements like installing signs, pavement marking, edge lines, center lines, rumble strips, and stripes. So as long as it is no more than $350,000 per tribe. So yeah, I think Robert touched this when he answered the questions. If a tribe gets funding, there are different ways. One way, different ways to implement. One way is to transfer the money to BIA, so BIA can manage the project. Or if you can work with the county and then the county takes the lead, we can just manage it just like a county project. If the tribe wants to work with local assistance directly, then we need to develop a master agreement. All right, so now I'm going to talk about some more about benefit cost ratio applications, because this is the biggest portion of the money. The work must be related to safety countermeasures. So we have a local roadway safety manual, which has listed all the safety countermeasures that are eligible in cycle 12. So you must relate your work under those countermeasures. Also, we prefer projects that have less right-of-way or environmental requirements. So if the project is a major one, like shoulder widening or realignment of of a roadway, then we have incremental approach requirements, which I will talk about later. So BCR applications, once we receive all the applications, we will, after review and make sure the calculation is good, then we will order all the applications based on the number, the BCR number, from highest to the lowest, and then just run through list, and then based on the amount we have, we will have a BCR cutoff. So the BCR cutoff is unknown right now, but from the history of the last few cycles, the BCR cutoff was increasing, like from 3.5 many years ago to 12 and then 18 in last cycle, which is cycle 11. So again, to submit a BCR application, the BCR must be at least 4. So this is the process to prepare a benefit cost ratio application. So in the first few steps, it's just the announcement of the call, and you want to go to the website and review all the documents, make sure you understand the application submittal process, and then the requirements of attachments. And at the end, you will submit through the link. So in the middle, from step 4 to 7, that's really the steps, the reiterative process. You want to identify the location, look at the crash pattern, identify what safety countermeasures are appropriate, and then based on the countermeasure, you do a preliminary design and then know the cost. So a benefit cost ratio can be calculated. So this is like a repeating process until you optimize the project and the countermeasure selection, and then the BCR number. So hopefully with LRSP, Local Roadway Safety Plan, you have already developed, you already have some, preliminary idea of the projects, so that can simplify the process. So back to that list of safety countermeasures. So altogether, we have 86 safety countermeasures. So each countermeasure is under one of the three location types: signalized intersections, non-signalized intersection, and roadway. So we have 22, 25, and 39 for these three types of locations, respectively. Also, for each countermeasure, it may be for for pet and bike, or for night crashes, emergency vehicle involved, or animal involved. And then the rest is common countermeasures, which is applicable to all crash types. So pet and bike, for example, if you are going to install a new pedestrian crossing, so that's pet and bike, or signal pedestrian crossing like countdown signal. So that's pet and bike, and bike lanes. So those we have 18 pet and bike countermeasures. Night countermeasures. So that's really installing street lights. So under each location type, there's one street lighting. So that's why we have 3. And we have one for emergency vehicle and one for animal involved, like animal fencing. So that's the countermeasures. At our website, you can download a copy of the local roadway safety manual. So it outlines the basic elements of analyzing safety data, identify safety issues, selected countermeasures, and then how to calculate the benefit cost ratio. So Appendix C, if you look at it, you can see the details, like what's the crash cost we use, how do we calculate the crash reduction factor, CRF, when we have multiple countermeasures. Appendix B, so if you know what countermeasures you are going to use, you probably want to look this appendix to get the details of this countermeasure to make sure you follow the rules. So that's Appendix B. There's a lot of other appendix I'm not going to talk about right now, but I highly recommend that you review this local roadway safety manual beforehand. So this is a table. There's quite a few tables, but this is the table 1, countermeasures for signalized intersections. So there are 22 safety countermeasures here. So just give you an idea how it looks like if you are new to this program. So for example, let's say number 15, SI 15. This is reduced left turn conflict intersections. So you can review the manual and get a what's the definition. And this table is just to show you all crashes are applicable, and the crash reduction factor is 50 for calculating the benefit cost ratio. And the life of the safety countermeasure construction is 20 years, and the funding reimbursement ratio is 90%. So again, this is one of the 3 tables. So there are 2 other tables for countermeasures for non-signalized intersections and also for roadway segments. So here I will talk some specific requirements. Incremental approach. So for particular this 4 countermeasures, shoulder widening, flattened curves, or vertical curves, we want you to show that you have already tried low-cost improvements. It could be signing high friction treatment or whatever you have tried. So if you can put this in the application form, so we will know you have already done something before before you propose the very high cost improvements. So the next thing is signal warrant. So if you are going to install a new traffic signal, please look at the MUTCD, California Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So this manual, and then prepare at least one of the 3 warrants: pedestrian volume, school crossing, or crash experience. If this is a pedestrian signal or HARC, you could prepare the same thing, one of the 3 warrants, or you could go to figure 4F1 or 4F2, and then that's basically the vehicle volume versus the pedal bike volume. So there's a figure to show its pedestrian signal is needed. Next one is very specific. It's for SI07 convert signal to master arm. So when you select this, you shouldn't select improve signal hardware as well, because signal hardware improvement is considered part of the new master arm work. So only SI07 should be used. So there are other details about the safety countermeasures you use. So again, please look at the local roadway safety manual, because we don't have time to go through all the small requirements for all the countermeasures. Okay, so this is also not new from cycle, I believe from cycle 11, maybe cycle 10. We allow multiple applications for the same project. So there's 2 situations this might be needed. Number one, if you have a location you want to apply under set aside and as a benefit cost ratio project as well. So you can submit 2 applications for the same project, and we will consider the benefit cost ratio one first. And if it doesn't make it, then we will consider it under the set aside. So that's, I mean, it's not required, but that's one possibility. You may want to have the same project under two different categories. Number 2, that's more often that if you have a systemic approach project. So there are a lot of locations included in one project, but the dilemma was if you include less locations, with a higher number of crashes, you may get a high benefit cost ratio. But if you include more locations, it will lower the benefit cost ratio. And because of the BCR cutoff, we don't know. So you may want to submit multiple applications with different number of locations and different BCRs. So when we review, we will select the one just above the cutoff. I mean, if that's the case. Okay, so this is some notes when you prepare an application. So for set aside, it's more straightforward. So because they are all low cost safety improvements, so you want to look at not just one location, but look at the entire agency and select the best locations systemically. And also under each set aside, there is requirements, right? So what work is eligible. Make sure the work is eligible under that set aside you are applying. So for benefit cost ratio, as you can see, most of the notes are about, the benefit, lower the cost, because again, the benefit cost ratio is the number we use to prioritize the project. So you want to make sure you study the crash numbers, crash pattern of the project locations, and select the best safety countermeasures which are most likely to reduce those crashes. And in the calculation, make sure the crashes are within the influence area. So for example, if it's an intersection project, we allow crashes within 250 feet from the intersection, or if the block is not that long, then half of the roadway is fine. So that's the influence area. If you look at the roadway safety manual, it has notes on this. Also, there are some special requirements which I have talked about already. So incremental approach for major safety improvements, and signals we need a warrant requirements. If your project involves state highways, a support letter is required from your district, Caltrans district. So to prepare a better application, of course, you want the benefit cost ratio to be higher. One thing is you want to maximize the project benefit. So you want to select locations with higher number of crashes, and you can select multiple countermeasures when possible, because we allow up to 3 safety countermeasures on the same location. Also, you want to lower the project cost, so use low-cost countermeasures and also minimize non-safety related components. So that way, the BCR is really benefit divided by the cost. So that way you can maximize the number, BCR number. So here are some website I would like to show you later on. So the first one is our Call for Project website, and hopefully you have already looked at it, but this is the place you are going to download application form, HCIP analyzer, and other templates. So the second one is UC Berkeley TIMSS website, and then also I want to show you FHWA safety website. So here is a screenshot of local HCIP website. This is actually the home page. So on the right-hand side, you can see quite a few tabs for different purposes. So we have approved project list, and we have call for projects. That's the one I just talked about. And then we have delivery requirements, project status, FTIP, advisory committee meetings, local roadway safety plan. So there's a lot of information related to our program. But the call for projects is the one you must look for sure. And then FHWA safety website. So Maria actually has showed you this. I actually have learned a lot from this website. So it has updated information about proving safety countermeasures, safe system approach, complete streets, and also specifically for HCIP program. So when you have time, I highly recommend you go to this website and then learn the safety concept. So TIMSS website, this is developed by UC Berkeley Safe Check Center. So TIMS is transportation injury mapping system. So when you prepare your application and if you do not have any good source of crash data, you can come here and then register for a free account. Over here, you can do GIS mapping, queries selected from the map, and then you can find out what crashes have happened in the last few years. This system actually has only fatal and injury data, no PDO crashes. But it's good. I mean, you can use this website and develop a benefit cost ratio project. So especially for small agencies, if you do not have your own data system, you definitely want to look at this option. Okay, so finally, application forms and how to submit. So like last time, application form is a savable PDF file. So you can download, you just need Adobe Reader to use. There are a few questions in the application form, but really the last page for attachments is very crucial. So you want to make sure you have attached all the documents that are required. And then to submit an application, we use Smartsheet this time, but you don't really see Smartsheet because the link is embedded into our local HCIP website. So you will be asked some very minimum questions, and then once you send those information, a link will be sent back to you to your email, so you can attach the completed application form. If you do not receive an email, please check your email's spam folder, because sometimes it may go there. It didn't happen to me, but I don't know, sometimes it may happen. So before you call us or call DOAE office, please check the spam folder as well. So this is the application attachments, again, for the last page of the application form. So number one here, these are all required for all applications. So number one is local roadway safety plan self-certification. There's a template you can download, and then engineer's checklist. So there are quite a few items we want to make sure you follow. So that's the engineer's checklist, and it requires the stamp of a registered engineer in California. Also, we require you have the map of the project map and preliminary plans, and what's the current condition, like pictures, and HCIP analyzer. So that's all required. And if it is a benefit cost ratio application, we also require collision diagrams and collision lists. For signal application, so we need a warranty study or attach those warrants for the project. If it is a state highway, it involves state highway system, then an email or letter from Caltrans district to show the support is required. And then number 5, optional. So that could be anything you want to submit to support your project. But normally don't include like huge documents, which is not very specific for the project. Then it will just make the application form huge. So the largest file you can submit is 500 MB So that's actually very big. I look at all the past cycles, only one application was larger than this. So hopefully, if that's the case, you can condense the files and make it no more than 500 MB. Okay, so HZIP analyzer, it is required for any application, either set aside or benefit cost ratio. If it is set aside, it really just provides project schedule and estimate. So we need those information. But if it is a benefits cost ratio application, other than project schedule, general information, estimate, we use this HZIP analyzer to calculate the benefit cost ratio. So I will show you some demo a little bit. And so let's see. Yeah, we need again, we need Adobe Reader in order to have the application form and HZIP analyzer work. So after you complete HZIP analyzer, save it and then attach to the last page of the application form. So let me go to the application form and show you. So I'm going to stop share this. Okay, so hopefully you can see local HZIP website. And here it is the call for projects website. And then when you are ready to submit your application, you would go to this section, submit your application, and here's the link. So this is a Smartsheet page embedded in local assistance website. So what you need to do is just provide agency and application ID, title. Is this a benefit cost ratio or set aside? And then your email address. That's one question I mentioned earlier. So if you are going to replace an application that was submitted already, but you found something missing or something not right, you can change this to be yes. And then once you submit here, you will receive an email that provides a link for you to upload your completed application. So I think I did one earlier, and there's a email I received. So this is the email you are going to receive after you submit the ticket. This is just the same information as you have provided. And then if you click open request, and over here, you just need to upload your application. So for me, I can just, I have quite a few files here, but this is the form. This is a very small file. Your file might be much larger. It may take some time for uploading the file, and then you can just you can choose sending me a copy of the form or not. No matter you select this or not, you will receive a confirmation that your application has been submitted. So you will just submit it here. So that's the application submittal process, because this is different from last time. So that's why I want to show you. All right, and then the next thing, okay, so just real quick. So this is a form. I think I have pre-entered. So this is a HCIP analyzer for a benefit cost ratio application. So section 1 is just some general information, application ID, location, description, which you can copy from your application form. That's the same information. And then we want to know, how many intersections or how many miles of roadways altogether. So this general information I'm not going to cover, but just, what's the functional classification, ADT, how have you identified your project? Yeah, the last question actually we added this time, state senate district and assembly districts, because this, when we do reporting, we need this. Last time it took us a lot of time to figure out the districts afterwards. And then section 2 is project schedule, which is required for set aside and benefit cost ratio as well. So this one is for benefit cost ratio, but there's a separate HCIP analyzer for set aside, which is much simpler. And then section 3, that's countermeasures, crash data, and benefit calculation. So, so the first question is about, where is your sources of crash data, and number 2, that's for incremental approach. If you have used this for countermeasures. So over here, that's where you step 1 through step 4. That's where you enter all the safety countermeasures and crash data. So the first thing is what locations you have. So there are 3 different location types. I think one question in the Q&A is, can we include different locations in one application? And the answer is yes. So it could be all SI or all NS or all roadway segments, or you can also have a mixture of different location types. If, for example, if this is a corridor safety improvements, you may have all different kinds of locations. So in this one, so for example, if I select no signalized, no, but NS yes, then there will be a list of all the countermeasures under NS, non-signalized intersections. So you can choose up to 3 in this table. And after you are done, you can hide unselected ones to make it, cleaner. So I selected these 3 countermeasures: install raised median, install left turn lane, and for ped and bike, install for pedestrians, include refugee, installing refugee islands. So assuming this project only has non-signalized intersections, and we select these 3 countermeasures, then you go to the next step. So if click this to generate a table to enter locations. So you may have a lot of locations. You can just click the add plus sign and then enter the description of each location, and then select what safety countermeasures apply to this location. Maximally, this table can have 50 rows. So if you have more than that, please combine at least some locations. So you can, like the first one, you can say 5 5 intersections, and then you can provide details in your application form. But over here, you can only have at the most 50 rows. So as long as those locations have the same safety countermeasures, you can combine them. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I will just have one intersection, and then we have 3 safety countermeasures. The first 2 are for all crashes, and then the last one is pet and bike countermeasure. So the reason I want to do this, because once you do that, the table will show you, what tables depend on what you have, what safety countermeasures you have selected. So first thing is you are going to enter crash data periods here. So this time we allow you to enter 2 separate data periods if needed. So of course you can enter just one data field. The reason is we have heard from some of you that crash data within the COVID-19 periods are not typical. So you may want to exclude that period, but that's up to you. You don't have to do that. So that's crash data periods, and then this will be calculated. What's the combined time period? So in this case, it is 3 years, and then you enter crash data as required. So in this case, this is all, and also we need a pet and bike crash data specifically. So after that, you are going to do the calculation, and there are two summary tables to give you all the benefits. Sometimes if there are errors, it will be displayed here. So you need to look at the description of the errors and then go back to fix those. For example, just want to give you an example what kind of error. So for example, if you enter for this location, if you enter other visible injury, like 3 here, and then you do the calculation, it will tell you it is not correct, because it's not possible for this location for the same time periods, the number of pet and bike crashes is more than the number of crashes under all, right? Okay, so now that error disappeared. Next section is engineer's estimate. So I'm not go to the details of here, but basically you enter all the items here, and if it's general items like a mobilization, traffic control, you just click this general check mark here. For all the other ones, you need to enter what's the percentage related to the safety countermeasures, and what's the percentage for other safety related or non-safety. So only non-safety percentage will impact your reimbursement ratio. So if non-safety percentage is no more than 10, the reimbursement ratio of your project will not be impacted. But if it's more than 10, it will reduce your project's reimbursement ratio. So if you read the Asset Analyzer manual, you will see all the explanations there. Section 4 is for you to enter cost for other phases, because just now we have all the construction items, and the cost is actually transferred to this table. This table will let you to enter PE cost, right-of-way, if there's any right-of-way cost, and calculate the HSIP portion of the funding. And the last section 5 is a summary of benefit and benefit cost ratio. So you are going to enter this benefit cost ratio into your application form as well. All right, so I think that's all for my presentation. Let me go back to share. So this is just the screenshot of the application form and the HTTP analyzer in case you want to review this PowerPoint file. But I've finished by demonstrating those real files. All right, so our contact information is here. Again, normally you work with the district because they know all the details of the program and also call for projects. So contact them or contact me or Simrit in our office for questions afterwards. All right, so now let's go to questions.
So Richard, Robert's been working in the back, desperately trying to keep us from overflowing with questions. We've got 39 unanswered so far. Robert, did you want to take a break and work with Richard here, or do you want me to answer the ones or ask the ones that look simple?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and I just been kind of going through them, but I'm sure I've missed several. So yeah, go ahead. Go for it, Scott. Thank you.
Thanks. And we're likely not to be able to get through all 40 of these questions today, but we will be formalizing a Q&A doc with all the answers and all the questions together that we'll get out to you as soon as possible. So, Richard, I'm going to go through kind of the easy ones first to see if we can knock out as many as possible.
Okay, sounds good.
Great, thanks. Are all local HSIP Cycle 12 call for projects in FTIP?
No, so we have both federal funds and state funds. Only federally funded projects will be documented in FTIP. The state funding ones will not.
Excellent. How far back can crash data be considered? 10 years ago, 5 years ago?
So not the data which are too old. We would like to have the most recent 3 to 5 years, so which are available to you. So depending on your data source, use the most recent 3 to 5 years. And if you exclude COVID-19 time period, you may go back, a little bit more.
Okay. Does the Smartsheet allow the saving of drafts, or do you have to just go through it all at once?
No, the Smartsheet will not save the draft ones, but you can save your application form when you work on it. So that's kind of, before you finish it, you can prepare each attachment separately and attach to application form. So you save everything in the application form. And also, HTTP analyzer, you can work halfway and save the data and now open next time to continue. But once you finish everything and when your application form is final, you will go to Smartsheet, that link to submit.
Okay, great tip. Is there a workshop offered specifically on how to do BCR calculations?
So not like a statewide one. I do get some requests from some districts, like District 11. There will be some workshop in San Diego area. But if you work with your district local assistants, if this is needed, we can work on it to have some either like a webinar or face-to-face training.
That's a great idea. Are there any changes in countermeasures from the last HSIP cycle?
Oh, good question. Actually, I think I forgot to mention that. Not too many changes, but there's one I want to mention, which is speed safety cameras. I think Maria mentioned that this is eligible in the most recent Transaction Act. So we add this one. Not all agencies can apply under this safety countermeasure because only a few, so far only a few agencies are eligible, are like legally eligible to use speed safety cameras, like for corridors. But yeah, this is the new safety countermeasure. Other ones, we added compact roundabout. So previously, actually, there was mini roundabout. We just make it more broad to be compact roundabout.
Okay. How many countermeasures can you use per application?
So for each location type, for example, roadway segments, for each of the three, you may have up to 3 countermeasures. So if your projects have all 3 different location types, you may have 9 safety countermeasures. Not all 3 must be selected for each locations. So you may have three safety countermeasures, and then for each location you can select from that 3. So yeah, to be short, we at the most we can have 9 safety countermeasures in one application.
Okay, excellent. Could you clarify, is it one application for a set aside picked from the 5, or is it one application per category?
Oh, for set aside, one application per category. So you may submit, 4 applications, 4 set aside applications, one under guardrail upgrade, one for ped and bike enhancement set aside, and one for edge lines, and then the last one is bike safety. So yeah, so one application per set aside.
And there's kind of a follow-up question. Can one agency apply for more than one set aside, or is it one set aside per agency?
They can apply for multiple set asides, but for each set aside, only one application is allowed.
Can the BCR cutoff for cycle 12 be provided to not spend resources on an application that would not be selected?
For cycle 12, we don't know the cutoff because we can only know after we receive all applications and order them, from the highest BCR to the lowest. So no, sorry, we don't know this number. But last time it was 18, and then cycle 10 was 12, I believe.
Okay, and again, apologize for jumping around on some of these content.
Sorry, Scott, I'll just touch on that. So with the increased funding that we're having this time, so last time was like around 240 million, and now we're 300. So our hope, as I've been typing in my answers, is we're hoping it'll be less than 18. But I hate to say, yep, you submit one, it's 15, it's guaranteed, we'll give you funding. We're hoping, if it's below 10, you might be a little bit like, should we spend the resources? I think we can safely say that if it's less than 10, you maybe are in the danger zone of getting funded. Of course, we allow applications to be submitted that are up above 4, but you know, I think your guidance should be, it should be at least above 10, and hopefully if it's above 15, I think you're probably getting closer to the safe zone with that increased funding. So, you know, like Richard said, we don't know. We every cycle we're getting increased number of applications. So we're getting a lot of agencies that are very interested after their local road safety plans that probably have highlighted some concerns, which is great. So it's kind of a, yeah, it's great, but we got more applications, which means it's more competitive. So we're hoping that agencies are not using their local LACIP or depending on the local LACIP as their funding source, that they hopefully will reach out with their RTPAs or MPOs and other funding. If we don't get funded, that you will still pursue your safety projects and find other methods to, or other funding sources.
Thanks, Robert. That's helpful. Did, while you're on, Robert, is there anything, I mean, we've got just a couple of minutes left. We're not going to be able to get through all these questions. We could either stay a little bit late. We're certainly going to answer them all formally. Is there anything you wanted to close with? You, Maria, Richard, did you had some closing thoughts?
I would say we will do our best to answer these questions thoroughly. As Richard said, we will, if agencies would like to set up maybe a specialized workshop with their district, we are putting one on for District 11. So if you feel like that would be helpful into kind of a one-on-one and going through different scenarios, I know a lot of questions, a lot of good questions have been answered. So we'll definitely take advantage of that. We want to help out agencies as much as possible. But really, I think the biggest thing is, you know, if you do have a project on the delay list and you really want to apply, you know, do what you can to either deliver that project or get an exception that, hey, we would like to apply. We have this project that has been on the list, but you know, we do offer that to where you can allow to apply. So please work with your local lists, DLAE on that. Anything else, Richard, before we close?
I'm good.
All right. Richard is our expert. He's I will give a shout out for Richard. He's the brains behind making this as easy as possible when it comes to the ASIP analyzer. I think submitting applications with Smartsheets this time is going to be very helpful, and with agencies to get notified that their applications has been submitted. And please register for that affordable roundabouts next week. I think you're going to find some information there that will really help with local agencies, especially with cities that have concerns about speeds. Seems like speeds and intersection safety is always on the top of their list. And I think there's an unmet need out there that I feel like that webinar should hopefully start thinking for you to consider that as an option. Appreciate everybody's time today, and hopefully everybody will be successful. And if any questions on your applications, any questions on countermeasures, please reach out to us. We're here to help you.
Yeah, just one thing. I know a lot of questions are not answered today, but we will compile all the questions and then answer them in a file, and then put that file under the call for projects website. So hopefully you will see that, review that, and then yeah, we don't have time to answer all the questions. Thank you.